any questions they may have that they wanted to ask. So I think she included those in the list of questions that we'll be asking our panelists today. Well, I think we gave it a few minutes, so we can begin if everybody is ready. All right, well, I want to welcome everyone. My name is Noura Yanaki, and I'm the president of the Arab American Bar Association of Illinois. For those that are new to AABAR, we're a bar organization with close to 300 members and have very active committees, including our esteemed CLE committee and Judicial Evaluations Committee. AABAR is and always has been committed to the success of its student members. I personally owe my career to this organization. We have always know that the future of AABAR lies in its student members. With the appointment of Sara Ghantous as student liaison, we've been able to ensure that MENA students know that AABAR supports you, and we intend on doing everything we can to see you succeed. Without further ado, we'd like to begin our presentation on the do's and don'ts of applying for legal internships and interviewing. Our distinguished panel includes very accomplished practitioners that are also longtime members of AABAR. First, we have Cory, Cassis, who is the Assistant State's Attorney for the Cook County State's Attorney's Office in the Civil Actions Bureau. He also happens to be AABAR's Social Committee Chair and happens to be our corresponding secretary. So thank you so much for taking the time to participate in this panel, Cory.
Thank you very much. Happy to be here.
Thank you. Next, we have Anwar Shatat. He is the Deputy General Counsel of Litigation with Guaranteed Rate. So thank you so much for participating today. I know he's been a member for over 14 years. I don't know. And next we have Lina Ragep Powell. She was recently elevated to partner at Jenner & Block LLP. So we are very excited to have her participate, and we congratulate you on your recent partnership.
Thank you. You're very kind.
And as you guys know, this panel will be moderated by Sara Ghantous, who is AABAR's student liaison. She's also corporate counsel for Amdocs and is an adjunct professor at Loyola University School of Law. So thank you everybody for joining us today. And Sara, I'll pass it off to you.
Great, thank you so much. Thank you all for attending, and to the panelists, thank you for agreeing to serve as panelists. Noura, thank you for being so great to work with, and for helping me, for planning this with me. So I know Noura gave all of the introductions for the panelists, but I thought that it would be beneficial or not beneficial, I guess. I thought it would be a fun way to break the ice if each of the panelists stated their hobby and the last place they ate at before we get started, just to kind of loosen it up. Whoever wants to start, go for it. I'll start. My hobby, I love practicing yoga. I am a yoga instructor. Last restaurant I ate at, honestly, I don't know the name of it. I tried finding it on Google Maps, couldn't even find it. So that's my answer.
I'll go next. I'm Cory, Cassis, and let's see. I have a number of hobbies, but I think one of my favorite hobbies is being a hockey fan and player. I love going to games. I played growing up and still skate when I can, even at my old age. And the last place I went to eat was Velvet Taco in West Loop, which had very good tacos, albeit not particularly authentic. And just for kicks, I decided to try their falafel taco, and it was as bad as it sounds.
That's hilarious. Velvet Taco is really good, though, I gotta say. Have not tried their falafel taco though.
Yeah, everything else was great. Just you don't need to be adventurous in that regard.
Right, Lina or Anwar?
I think Anwar is talking, but we can't hear him.
I thought so.
Oh, he's trying to. No, I don't think we can hear you, Anwar.
How about now? Perfect.
Yep, we can hear you.
All it took was one button. Hey everyone, nice to be here. Nice to see so many familiar faces. My hobbies, I've got a long list of hobbies. I'm also, one of my hobbies is finding hobbies actually. So I've got, my favorite hobby is to read. Really, I'm an avid, I love nonfiction. I love all things politics. I I've got two little girls, so I love going to their soccer games, and I love, it's not much of a hobby being a parent, but it's something I enjoy. And I love to play poker. I'm a Hold'em. I love playing Hold'em, Texas Hold'em, and learning new skills, and playing with friends, and really not playing at the casino, but mostly playing with friends. So last good restaurant, Swift and Sons. I was there a couple of weeks ago, and it was fantastic.
So thank you everyone for having me. Similar to Anwar, I am a parent, and I think it is a hobby and a second, third job. And so I don't have any hobbies that are independent of my children, but some of the things that we do together this year was my kids are 1 and 3.5, and I took the 3.5-year-old, my daughter, and we did ice skating for the her first time, and it was a lot of fun. It was, and she did really great. So it's exciting for me to sort of relive my childhood through the kiddos. And there is no restaurant, because since I had kids, I don't think I've gone out to a restaurant, but I am open for recommendations.
Well, thank you. Thank you all for sharing. Let's see, we can sort of transition into the panel. Before we do that, I will say I did try to think of the place that I went to eat before the last place, and I also couldn't remember where that was. So I figured I'm just not even gonna try. But thank you all for sharing your hobbies, the last restaurant you ate at. Hopefully we're all feeling a little bit more comfortable. And now I will ask the first panel question. I will also post it in the chat. This way, for all of the attendees, in case you didn't hear it, it's there for your reference. So first question is, where did you intern while you were a law student, and how did those internships prepare you for your legal career, or even your current role? Should we go in alphabetical order by first name? Maybe it'll go Anwar, Cory, Lina.
Yeah, sure. I can go first. So
cool.
My first real internship was, as a 2L, I was a summer associate at a firm in Phoenix, Arizona. I decided that I would try to go out of state. And it was interesting because I was going to Phoenix, a place that I had never been, in the summer, and I knew it was hot. I just didn't realize it was that hot. It was definitely, summers there are really difficult, but it was just an amazing experience. I worked for a well-known firm in Phoenix that did all sorts of things, mostly commercial litigation. And I wrote memos. I went to court I knew I wanted to be a litigator, so I stayed mostly in the litigation department at the firm. And I learned, one of the questions is sort of how did the internship prepare me for my career. From as summer associate, I then graduated law school and became an associate at Jenner, where Lina is now. Congratulations on becoming partner. That's really fantastic. And working there really, helped me in so many ways. I mean, just writing memos and getting practice writing memos and understanding how you can add value as a junior associate and trying to understand that and get a handle on that really early on as a young junior attorney is, I think, critical. And where I immediately found I could add value was just having a command of the facts and the law, and being someone that if you're working in a team in a team environment, that the senior folks could rely upon and call upon. If you can, I feel like that's the easiest way to kind of add value, is just to have really command of the facts and the record. If you're in litigation, slightly different if you're a transactional lawyer, but that was a skill set I as a summer associate that I learned that proved to be very valuable. For my current role, I did not become an in-house lawyer until many years later, and I can't say anything I did as a summer associate prepared me for the current role, other than really just developing people skills and work, and understanding how to network and learn operating in a law firm. I think definitely translates to the in-house world.
Thank you, Anwar. Cory?
Thank you, Sara. So for me, it's a little different. I have to say, I did not follow the path that I should have as a law student. And I did one internship, but it was with a judge. And so I got some great experience for that. I mean, it really helped me learn about how the court works, what it looks like behind that wall that when you go into a courtroom, although who goes into a courtroom anymore, right? It was a very interesting experience, but in terms of how it really prepared me for my current role, I would say not much. So because of that, I did pull some of the attorneys in my office, as well as some of my own experiences of seeing it from the other side and working with some of the interns here. And it seemed to be the common theme about where we work, and what really seemed to be helpful or stood out to people is in general, like learning about the culture of the office, learning about how we interact with each other, what's expected of you, how to communicate with each other, and just on a day-to-day basis, what it is we do, how it's administratively organized. And then also, I think that very much to what Anwar said, I mean, there's also a value on, knowing your cases and contributing where you can. But it seems that the bigger eye opener was really seeing how a government office works and what the day-to-day looks like.
Great, thank you, Cory. Lina?
Yeah, so in law school, I did a few things. After my first year, I did clinical work. So I don't know if it's an internship, but I worked at Wisconsin. I went to school at the University of Wisconsin Law School, and I was part of the Wisconsin Innocence Project. So I did that first summer. And then I also did an externship with a federal judge in the Western District of Wisconsin. And then for my 2L year, I went through the OCI and I worked at a law firm. So I kind of had that variety. And I would say that the skills that I learned, they're all a little different, but they can all be summed up as like a good writer, a good communicator, and understanding how to, I think very much what both Cory and Anwar is the culture of the office, but also how to add value to your cases. And it's kind of that combination, and kind of like finding who are you to this case, or who are you into this, where is your role, whether you're a clerk or you're an assistant, a law clerk, or a summer associate. And so that I think it can be difficult. So one thing, and how this translated to my current job, one thing I did to set myself out and stand out as being valuable is like, yes, grasping the facts as a junior is so important. Other things were understanding, like if you're on a case, understanding the court's standing order. Those are so important. And being the person that everyone goes to is like the A+ gold standard. So if you can be that person that you'd be like, I'm going to, you know, if someone needs, oh, how many pages does Judge Kennelly allow for a reply brief? This is coming up in a case right now. And being like, oh, I have that at the tip of my fingers, or I can find that for you immediately. And those sort of, so the skills I learned from my externships and my internships was like where to add the value. And then now my current job, even now as partner, it's like I still want to set myself out as like I have this unique knowledge and I can still be that go-to person.
Definitely. That's a great answer. Thank you all for sharing. I do have to say, I resonate, Cory, with you a lot in the sense that I too, I feel like I didn't pursue, maybe take on, I guess, pursue the internships that I should have pursued, but for different reasons. I feel like I really limited myself. I interned only at government, you know, in various government offices, you know, CTA, State's Attorney's Office. I also, like Lina, interned for a federal judge. And, you know, I thought litigation was what I wanted to do. And then when I was actually doing it, I was like, why do I want to do this? So that being said, you know, my advice to law students would be don't limit yourself, experiment, take on different types of internships. That's really, in my opinion, the best way you're going to figure out what it is that you want to do. A lot of people, when you're in law school, you'll come to find that a lot of people will tell you that, or I'm sorry, one area of law will be emphasized maybe more than others, or one type of practice will be emphasized more than other types of practice areas that you can go into. So kind of look beyond that and try to expand your horizon and just dabble in as many different fields as you can. The next question for you all is, what skills and or talents do you need to do well in your role? And what types of internships should students pursue in order to develop those skills?
Same order or reverse order this time, whatever.
Sure, sure. Lina, would you like to go first? Lina?
Well, I already took the mic, so I defer to him.
Well, so for me in my current role, communication skills, and I know you hear that. So what does it mean? It really, when I was an associate at a firm, I could demonstrate my value and build my brand as a lawyer in a firm by demonstrating my command of the nuances, right? And demonstrating my command of the law. In this current role, it really, communication is distilling, being concise, and not, you know, because I'm dealing with business people, not going down rabbit holes as we would do it, and that would be totally fine in a law firm environment. In fact, welcomed, I think. You know, having those, sending long emails and you know, and discussing issues with colleagues or partners, team members, and that's fine, right? But that doesn't work very well in an in-house environment. It drives people crazy. So you have to find ways to distill very difficult legal concepts down to really basic things, which is a skill set I didn't have coming to guaranteed rate. But I was mentored by someone here who just did a really good job of helping me break things down and working on my communication with business people. And I will tell you, I wouldn't say I was totally unprepared for it, because it in some respects, it's really like arguing before a court that's really busy and you don't have a lot of time. I think of that, you know, being in court and having those sort of communication skills that allowed me to distill things down to basics in that context was tremendously helpful. It's very similar, not the same, but you're dealing with somebody who doesn't have a lot of time, or you don't have a lot of time, period. And so you've got to find a way to get to the point fast. And so it is very similar, except it's just you're using different terminology, and you're focused more on numbers and risk, and and less about communicating your understanding of the law. I hope that helps.
Yeah, I would say, and those long emails, I apologize, they come from law firms like us. But I do try to communicate that's not clients to clients. Companies are our clients, and they do not want these long memos. That's the thing. It's weird because when you're in law school, that's kind of what you focus on, right? Long research, writing, long memos, and then you get into practice, and it's like, no, right? Tell me what you need and tell me in as few words as possible. And so the messaging is very different. For me, the thing that I need right now in my role is case management skills. And it's kind of funny as you get more and more senior, it's like, where'd the law go? I miss you, Westlaw. When was the last time I just hung out in Westlaw and like researched something exciting? It gets less and less part of the day to day, but being able to see the whole picture and understand, this is kind of what I was saying a little bit before, your role and how you play into all the other moving pieces. And so in my day to day, it's like I manage down, I manage up, I manage out. So what does that mean? Like I have a team of associates that I have to make sure everything's on track. And I have, let's say I'm on discovery, we have third-party vendors. I also communicate with the clients. I talk to senior partners and make sure that those strategy assessments are happening. And so there's you keep a lot of moving pieces all at once. And if I'm the bottleneck, if there's an email and I need to approve something, it's not going to move forward until I do that. So those are the skills that I need for my day to day. And I would say to you guys, you're law students, you're like, how do I do that? I don't think there's an internship that you could get that wouldn't be helpful to this. Whether you do something, you go into government, you go through OCI and you end up at a law firm, you do some clinical programs and works, you can apply, the things that were the suggestions we're giving, finding value, case management, how to write concisely, and all of those things, you can practice that in any type of internship that you're looking for.
So I would echo everything that's been said so far. Absolutely. Some things that I can add to that. I mean, the number one thing that I think is important in my role in this position is organization. You have a busy calendar. You have a lot of cases. You're balancing the communication with your partners on cases, supervisors, staff, opposing counsel. You're accountable to the court. You're accountable to your clients. Not only the client as a whole, like the entity that you're representing, be it a Cook County entity, which is what we will represent in my unit, but also the individuals who are named in this litigation. And you need to be conscious of that. And I think that once you get everything down and you're organizing your calendar and you're communicating in a way that is respectful of other people's time and communicating effectively, then the next important thing is being accountable. You have to be accountable. If you don't, as a new attorney, as an intern, especially when you're getting started, there's a lot to learn. There always is. There's always going to be a lot to learn, and you're not expected to know everything. Nobody is. I don't know everything. I wouldn't claim to. But if you are trying, if you have questions and you ask the questions, you're actively trying to solve problems. These are all important things. Sitting on something because you don't get it and letting a week go by, 2 weeks go by does nobody a favor. All that does is compile the problem. So I think being diligent, being accountable, caring, and the last thing I'd like to say is like just being, in general, being reliable. And again, that goes back to, that kind of encompasses everything together. It encompasses your organization. It encompasses your communication skills. It encompasses your dedication and your accountability. These are all important. And at the end of the day, what is it that you are contributing to your team? Are you helping to push things forward? Or are you creating a bottleneck of sorts, And And I think being conscious of where you stand and how you can always be better is really important. So I would definitely say that's something that people need to be aware of. There's a lot of things that are going on at once at all times. And there is any internship, be it a clerkship, an internship, you can practice these skills anywhere. You can practice these skills as a law student. If you're not great right now at organizing your calendar, get great at it. Now's the best time to practice. You have the opportunity now to get and organize and develop habits that will go with you throughout your career. So now's the great time to make those decisions.
Thank you. I agree with everything the three of you said. I think you all have really valuable insights to offer to law students. And one thing that I would like to add is I find that working in-house requires, I totally agree with you that no matter what internship you take on, it's going to be valuable and you're going to develop the skill, very like strong transferable skills that you can take with you anywhere, regardless of what career path you decide to take on. What I've discovered is that there's a huge shift in mindset working in-house than in litigation. So by that, I mean, when you are practicing litigation, there's more, conflict is not the right word. My brain is a little bit fried from work, but there's more, what's the word I'm looking for? I'm just gonna say conflict. There's opposing counsel, a problem has occurred. You're trying to resolve the issue. Whereas when you're in-house, generally you're trying to prevent issues from happening. So there's more, I find that, it's a lot more collaborative. You're working with a variety of different people, whether it's members of the sales team, marketing team, project managers, and so on and so forth. So to kind of bring things full circle, communication skills are really important, but also looking at things from a different lens, like from hindsight, how can I prevent issues from happening? And I think working in litigation or interning, taking on some sort of internship like that gives you the benefit of hindsight that you can prepare, that you can apply to an in-house role. So my point is, I concur with everything you all three said. Every skill is valuable and you can take with you, whatever you get from whatever internship you take on into your career. My next question is, how would you recommend, we just answered that question kind of, so let's skip that one. In your opinion, what's the most important thing students should keep in mind when deciding which internships to apply for? And, maybe if the students have already applied and they've received offers, select which internship to select.
I can just like jump in. One thing, like when I don't think it's a blocker, but think of it's really hard to know what you're going to do with your life at the beginning. And I don't think, anything pigeonholes you forever. But because of how competitive everything is, if you've got a lot of government experience or a lot of public interest, and then you say you want to be like this corporate lawyer, you want to go in big law, and we look at so many resumes and we're like, well, you've just been doing, like, why would you want to come here, right? And it's hard because I had a lot of public interest work, and people would ask me those questions. I'd be like, well, I can want to be here and do public interest, can't I? But because of but the reality is there is so much competition. You want to make yourself as competitive and valuable, but also, so if you want to be a litigator, seek out litigation. And I know that sounds so obvious, but it's not always that obvious. So if you think, or I say, like, you never go wrong with a clerkship, or you never go like any, I can't even think of any job, maybe like M&A, where a clerkship or an externship with a judge would not be super valuable. So it's sort of like, so seek out in that realm. Or if you want to be an ASA, seek out the internships with them. Or like, I know this happened to someone I worked with. They had a lot of prosecution experience, and then when they applied to a defender's position, it was kind of like, it doesn't mean they're not qualified, but there are so many other people who then have defender experience. So it's like, so it's kind of like, well, why would you want this position? And that's it. It makes it more difficult. So you want to just make yourself like as marketable as you possibly can.
Yeah, and I would agree. It's, it's that is the number one concern, is right. That's the goal, is putting yourself out there. What can you do to best position yourself to be marketable? And you don't want to overpressure yourself. I think as a law student, it is difficult to know what you want to do sometimes. Not everyone knows, and that's why internships are great. You can, you'll even as a young attorney, you will have the ability to move around a little bit, or most attorneys do. But you'll never have a better opportunity than when you're a student, because you can do these kind of things. They're short term. You can get a feel for several different offices or different government entities. And I think it's a great way to get a head start by taking advantage of internships. I think that the best way to approach it is, as Lina said, if you want to be a litigator, look for litigation. If you want, but you don't even have to be that specific. If you want to be working public service, look in a public service job, look in a government office. I know some people in our office who internshipped here for all 3 summers as law students, or for 2 different summers and then afterward. And that's what worked for them. They were dedicated. They decided they want to work here. They loved it. But that's putting a lot in one basket too. So maybe if you have an interest in public service, why not do an internship here, but then do an internship at at the AG's office, do an internship with the CTA. There's a lot of different options. And if you are, even if you think where you want to do, I would encourage you to at least step a little bit outside of it and see what it's like in other areas, because as much as an internship will teach you what you want to do, it'll also teach you what you don't want to do. And I think there's a lot of value to that. Another thing that I think is really helpful in having some variety is that, for a lot of people, myself included, networking did not really come very naturally. It's not, it's funny because I love to talk, but when it came to having to put myself out there and network, it was not something, it's something that I had to really force myself to do. And going to networking events, and my law school did a great job of stressing that, but it's easier said than done. So working in different positions, working at clinics, and particularly internships, was a way for me to meet people. I was meeting colleagues who were students just like myself, who later on would become colleagues in profession, as well as judges, as well as other attorneys, bosses, supervisors. And if that's not the job for you, but you're establishing and developing these great relationships, it could lead to the job for you. And so I think that it's great. I think it's a natural and organic way to network, that there's not really a downside to having a little bit of variety when it comes to your decisions.
Yeah, everything is such great feedback. What I would add is, I think it really starts with taking inventory of what's out there and what is sort of within your reach. And that depends on your timing. It could depend on your grades. It could depend on all sorts of things, right? I think you want to take inventory first. And then I think what my colleagues have said is absolutely right. I think you want to keep an open mind. I mean, there really isn't an internship that's going to harm you. Cory, I think what you said was brilliant. Sometimes an internship might open your eyes to something you don't want to do. And that's great. You can figure that out really early on. Understanding that there will always be some discomfort with anything you do, that's great. That's just life. And but if you can get insight into something and you do it and you come to a conclusion that it's a hot mess, then that's great too. I mean, there's nothing wrong with that. And what Lina said was great. Trying to be strategic is in making sure it fits within your broader career path. If it's going to be difficult to really chart a career path this sort of early on in your career. It's hard because you're trying different things. But if you're targeted and you know where you want to go and you know where you want to be in 5 years or 10 years, and I've met plenty of people that have a really good sense of where they want to be, I think you definitely want to understand how this fits into your career path. And then the last thing I will say is, one of the things I think you can do with an internship, as you're surveying the field and trying to understand where you want to be, think about, and I would try to think about, how am I going to be able to talk about this internship in a subsequent interview? Is this going to be the kind of internship that I'm going to get people's attention on in an interview? And that could be anything. I mean, you'd be surprised how valuable it is to have something like that to talk about during an interview. Have it jump out the page in your resume and have it be the first thing that you talk about. It will give you so much confidence right away, and have you connect with the person that you're interviewing with. And the last thing I'll say is just a quick story. We had a law clerk who was a second year at DePaul. He's now a second year at DePaul. And we're in financial services. He knew he wanted to be in financial services as a transactional lawyer. So he clerked here. And then he interviewed for a position at a large law firm and specifically targeted the financial services, department, and wound up interviewing with someone who ran the department, who knew the company, and they had so much to talk about. And he got an offer and accepted it. And so he was very strategic and seeking out this position and then understanding where it fit in to where he really wanted to be. And I thought that was brilliant. And quite frankly, I wish I had done it when I was and had that much, just given it that much thought and been that strategic, so. But I echo everything that was said.
Thank you. I completely agree. I also echo what you all said. And I noticed a theme of strategy in all three of your answers. And I wholeheartedly agree. I think you could still be strategic even if you don't know what area of law you want to go into, even if you don't know what you want. And by that, I mean experimenting, right? You're still being strategic by doing that, by gaining a little bit of experience in as many fields as you can, in order to be able to, as Anwar said, to be able to speak to those industries when you are applying for a full-time job or going through a career transition. I went through a bit of a career transition a while, like 2 years ago, and actually Anwar helped me with that. He sat down and had an informational interview with me, or I gave him one. And sorry, my dad is calling me. I don't know if you can hear that through my AirPods. Yeah, so I will never forget that. That was very helpful. And that goes back to the point Cory made about networking. Networking is really important. You're going to need advice from various people that you meet. So really take advantage of that while you're in law school. Try to develop as many relationships as you can. AABAR is a great way to do that. And I also saw Donna had dad on here a little bit earlier. I don't know if she is still on, but I also met with her when I was seeking advice on how to transition in-house. You never forget those people that helped you. So really, come to these AABAR events. We're here to help. Next question I have is, in your opinion, what's the most important thing students should keep in mind when preparing their resumes and or interviewing for internships?
I can start. So look, you're in law school. You have, obviously, I think what you need to do, my best advice would be to find ways to tell your story outside of your grades. I mean, you have your grades, but you've got to find a way to tell in your resume, tell the story about yourself, right? And that's important, I think, for your career period, and having a resume. And I keep my resume updated. I think always having that story there. You're telling a different kind of story when you're many years into your practice, but your as a law student, you have an opportunity. No one expects you to have this lengthy resume. I always laugh when I see 3-page resumes as a law student. I'm like, okay, well, it's good. I think that each of you have a story. You have to sit down. No one likes to promote themselves. Most people don't. And so you got to figure out, get comfortable with that. But what is your story? What is your upbringing? Who are you? Right? And have that story told on your resume. I pay attention to that more than a lot of other things. I want to know who you are before you walk in the door, where you've been. And, there's a lot of things that jump out of the page. I pay attention to things that I think nobody pays attention to. And sometimes I start with it too. And, it's also a tactic to try to get people comfortable, really, because you want them to be at their best, I think, during the interview process. But that would be the best piece of advice without just going on, that I could give you. I think it's just to find a way to tell that story. Well, everyone has a story. Don't think you don't have a story. All of us have stories. We always start out when we hire someone on their first day. We ask them to give us 3 fun facts that we can't find about you in your resume. And it's just, everyone has something interesting about them that makes them who they are. So don't be afraid of it and put it out there.
I have a story to piggyback off of that. And I would say, like, I think it says, be genuine, but I would say that this is more about interviewing than the resume. But, everyone watching today is smart, right? You guys are in law school, you're doing well, you're coming to these panels. You guys are, I think it's, you guys are the A+, right? And so I always, it's always, when you go into the interview, they already know you're smart, right? They want to know more. So when I was interviewing for Jenner, which Anwar, you must help everyone get your jobs, because he had been there before me, and he had like given me some tips, and I remember being so nervous before I went into my interview. So I get into my interview, and I'd researched everything, and I was meeting with the head of the class actions practice group, and I was so nervous, but I was really ready to talk about every class action that's probably ever happened in the Northern District of Illinois and everything. And I get in there, and he looks at me, and I had on my resume. So after college, I had done a Fulbright in Syria. But it was before law school. It was like, it's on my resume, but it's like, I was ready to talk about law. He sits down, he looks at me, and he's like, so tell me about the political situation in Syria. I was like, I'm sorry, what? and I was like, are you serious? Are you punking me? Like, are you serious? He's like, yeah, I want to know about it. I was like, but don't you want, and I think I might have actually said this, but don't you want to talk about class actions? And he's like, no, I know about that. I want to hear your thoughts on this other stuff. And I was like, okay. And we just launched into something completely unrelated. One, always be prepared to talk about anything you put on your resume, anything at all. But also it was kind of showed me that, like, they know you can research, and they know, you can figure out the law stuff. So they wanted to know about me. They want to know about the interesting things I had done. They wanted to know exactly what Anwar said, what set me apart. And what set me apart was like not anything I did in law school, but apparently this Fulbright before I even got to law school. So what sets you apart might be something that you've already done or you're about to do. It might not be that, because for better or worse, like, you are smart. There are tons of smart people. So figure out, like, what makes you that little extra that you can highlight when you either put in your resume, when you go into these interviews.
Yeah, I think that's a great point. I think when you come into an interview, they probably presume you can do the job. The question is, what makes you interesting, and do I want to work with you? That's really right. They're going to see you every day. Do I want to work with this person? Is this someone that is going to get along with people? Is this someone, and of course, being competent and being able to do your job is important. I would never downplay that, but that's, again, most of us are. And so I think that's incredibly invaluable, and putting some things in your resume that make that stand out is really nice. I always have a little blurb at the bottom that just, hobbies, like avid hockey, comedy, and literature enthusiast or something like that, and sure enough, the best interview I ever had, it was only like 40 minutes. In the first 20 minutes, we talked about hockey and stand-up comedy. It was great. I loved it. And you know, one of the people in one of the panel was like, when are we going to get to the interview? Because I'm bored because I don't know anything about hockey or comedy. And I was like, this is going great. Like, I'm crushing it. And so, I mean, it's funny because I know it's not, it's maybe a little counterintuitive, but it's not really when you really think about what the ultimate goal is. In terms of the, you know, and just another just quick thing on the actual, you know, when interviewing, and I think this goes with any interview, know about the organization that you're interviewing with. Everyone has websites. Go on the website, look up news articles, see what you can find out. You know, talk to people. If you know anyone who works there, talk to them. If you know anyone who knows anyone who works there, talk to them. Why not? You have nothing to lose, and the more educated you are and the more informed you are on who they are, what they do, the more you have to talk about, and the more it shows that you're genuinely interested. And that's huge. I mean, you know, and I think the last, you know, one of the jobs I got hired for, I remember at the end of later on, I was talking, you know, months after my interview, the gentleman who interviewed me said, yeah, we could tell at your interview that you really wanted to work here. And I don't know if that's good or if it described desperation, but either way, it was great. And then, like, in terms of resume, and this might, you know, come up in later questions, but I know we're probably getting short on time. When it comes to resumes, I cannot say enough how important it is that it be immaculate. You have all the time in the world to make your resume. It's nothing that's on the spot. It's not an exam. You have all the time to do this. You've had all the time to get feedback. It needs to be perfect, and there's no excuse why it's not. Content wise, you know, yes, you might not have, as a law student especially, you're not going to have all of the experience and all of the education or all the work experience that you'd like to have. And there are other things you can put in there. And you know, as my colleagues have said, like, you should be ready to talk about everything. You really should. But you know, but think about what's in there. Think about the content. If you're applying for a public service job, you might not have job experience in other, you know, in public service, but what else have you done that could rely? What shows the dedication to public service? Have you volunteered? Have you worked on campaigns? Whatever, like anything, put it in there. At least I recommend that. I mean, within reason, of course. But in terms of grammatically, that figures I would mix that up. But spacing, font, grammar, like, it needs to be impeccable. There's no reason for it not to be. This is, you keep in mind that when an employer or in, you know, a company receiving an internship application and resume, when they get that piece of paper, that's all they have. They're judging you based on that piece of paper. And if you have misspelled words, even misspacing, your fonts are off, that's a reflection of you, because, you know, you really did have all the time in the world to make this perfect. So make sure it is. And your law schools, friends, colleagues, attorneys, AAABAR attorneys, reach out. That's what we're here for.
Thank you all. I loved all of your answers. It's so true. I completely agree. And I think that the law students here, you know, at this meeting are really going to benefit from all of your advice. I do have a follow-up question kind of on that note, and that is, can you name one positive thing and one negative thing that stands out to you when you review applicants' resumes and or when you interview applicants? It's kind of similar to the last. Oh, sorry.
Yeah. Positive. I think we covered a lot of the positive, just sort of what makes you interesting and why you're committed and what you've done in your life. I'd say negative are gap fillers. Like, everyone's proficient at Word. We got it. Like, you don't need to. There are so many things you don't need to put on a resume that I think have been ingrained in everyone, really. I mean, it's on my resume. So that I would get rid of the gap fillers, proficient in anything that is, you know, obvious. I wouldn't do that. Just as a negative. It's really not that, it's not a big deal, but you know, I think you've got most resumes you want to limit to 1 page, and you've got a finite amount of real estate, and you have to really make it count. And I would stay away from gap fillers. That would be my advice.
I would say for in the interviewing, where I would recommend people could be stronger is, I would say if you're very focused, that comes across very well sometimes. And I was like this, you're in law school, you want to do everything. You want to, they say, oh, well, what department or what practice group are you interested in? And be like, oh, I'll do everything. But that doesn't help me, right? Because we need to put you in one. Or like, if you say like litigation is very different than corporate. So, and even if, or like bankruptcy, like, do you like restructuring? Do you like, telecommunications? Very different, different industry practices. And you don't have to like decide that like right now in your career, but having a loose understanding of what the place you're interviewing like does. I think this has come up, and being focused to where you would fit into it. So if you say a practice group that we don't have, this happens, right? Like that's not going to reflect well. You do your research and say, look, I noticed you had 3 different litigation practice groups. There's like the aerospace one, the business litigation, and a financial litigation. Those were 3 very interesting practice groups that I would want to explore at your firm or your company. And so having that focus is very helpful. And then when I've seen it, so if I say, oh, what area is interesting to you, and just saying like, oh, everything, I would explore it all, that kind of doesn't come across as well. And then I think Cory already said this, but the why, like the question we ask, why Jenner, or why the ASA, why guaranteed rate? And you would be surprised how many people don't have an answer. And like saying, oh, I want to be, I just want to get to know, it'll be like a fluffy answer, but it just like a little bit of research on like the news, just to see, or did we win an award this year? Are we like, number 1 in like our, I'm saying bankruptcy practice again, because there's something like, or our pro bono group, or like if there's something specific to us that not having that why is where I've seen some room for improvement in interviews.
Yeah, I would agree with that. Absolutely. Take the time to know where it is you're interviewing, and think about exactly what makes them stand out, what makes them interested to you. I mean, I know that's a tough thing sometimes. Like, it's hard to be like, oh, I have a passion for personal injury. Like that's tough, right? But what about, I really like your firm. I like what you've done. I like the way that you manage. I like the kind of cases you take. Like, I think that you're really doing good, and I want to contribute to your team's success. Think about it. Think about how to phrase things in a way that expresses a genuine interest and a dedication to that line of work. And be able to articulate it, how your interests and their interests align, and how if you have a goal, like say you have a career, your goal is a career in public service. How does this internship help me get to where I want to be, and how can I help you?
Definitely. Thank you all. I would like to add just a couple things to that. Sell yourself. What can you bring to the table? Because someone once said this to me, and it's going to sound so harsh, but it's kind of true. And okay, so don't judge me. I'm literally just repeating what this person said to me. Nobody cares what you are passionate about. They care about what you can do for them, how you're going to help them. I don't completely agree with nobody cares what you're passionate about, because that completely negates everything that we've kind of been talking about, showing that you're passionate about what you want to do. So take that part with a grain of salt, but sell yourself. You have a lot to offer. And as we've said throughout this panel, you're going to gain really valuable experiences in every internship you take on, every role you take on after law school. So really find those skills that you've developed and the talents that you've developed, and sell yourself, because you're going to be competing with a lot of other people. So you do need to differentiate yourself from others. And the last thing I want to add is be prepared to hustle. Hustling is not limited to the legal career. You're going to have to hustle in every career path that you can possibly think of. So it's okay to work a little bit after work hours here and there. It's okay to not have a perfect work-life balance. It'll happen later on, maybe it won't, but maybe you'll be cool with that. Maybe it'll be fine. But just be prepared to work hard and show that you're not afraid to work hard, because some people are absolutely like, no, I need a great work-life balance. I need to travel the world. Well, I mean, I don't think that's a very realistic mindset to have. You know, if you're committing yourself to a career where you are helping others, you know, whether it's in the public sector or the private sector, even when you're practicing transactional or commercial law, you're still helping other people in one way or another, you know, your company, right? So, you know, be prepared to put the work in required to help whoever it is that you're helping. So that's all I wanted to add. But we are, let's see, it's 5:58. So we are running very short on time. I want to give Nora the last word, but before I do, and to close us out, but before I do that, I want to thank the panelists. Thank you so much for, you know, devoting time at the end of a busy work day. You know, sometimes at the end of the work day, I just can't, sentences don't come out the way that they are in my head. So, but I feel like that did not happen with any of you. I was so captivated and engaged by everything you all had to say. And it's even, you know, helpful to me as a practicing attorney, having just gone through the application process to get SNU role. I was like, yeah, you're totally right. I completely agree. So I could resonate with everything you were all saying. And so it was valuable to myself as well. So thank you for your time. Thank you for your help and your devotion to the students, and AABAR students, please come to more events. We're here to help. I cannot emphasize enough how amazing the members of AABAR are, and you know how much comfort they've brought me and support they've shown me, comfort they've brought me and support they've shown me. There we go, words. During times that I've really needed that comfort and support. So we're here for you. And Nora?
Well, I echo all of that. I'm incredibly thrilled that we recorded this panel presentation because, like you said, you know, we're giving you this advice, which was just nuggets of gold, one after the next. I mean, I could not agree with you all more on the advice that you were providing with each question that was presented. I would take this, I would listen to it a number of times, not only when you're applying for internships, but later on in your career. If you're considering applying for a different job, listen to this again. I can't tell you how valuable this advice has been. I would add just one more piece of advice, as if you guys couldn't hold any more advice in your head. It's just that treat yourself as an individual law firm. If you're working in a law firm, you may not speak directly to the client that you're for the matter that you're working on, but the associate that you're working for, that's your client. The partner that you're working for, that's your client. And so you're constantly having to be concise, as everyone had mentioned, and show how you can add value to whatever task is being asked of you. So I'm so excited for you all to be starting this journey. It is take every opportunity you can take and extract the lesson and apply it to the next thing. I went from litigation to transactional work. And so there isn't exactly, obviously the subject matter isn't the same, but the skills that you can take, I took from litigation, I definitely applied in my career as a transactional attorney. So if you can see the value in whatever it is that you're doing, and you can show them that you see that value, then I think they will buy into the confidence, and they're going to want you to join their team. So thank you everybody again for taking the time to join us this evening. Please feel free to reach out to Sara if you have any other questions, if you'd like to have our committee do anything else to prepare you for what you're about to pursue. We're happy to help you. This is what we're here for. Again, I want to reiterate, I got my start as an attorney because of AABAR and the relationships I made in this organization, and we are here to help you succeed. So thank you, Lina. Thank you, Anwar. Thank you, Cory, so much. Thank you, Sara, very much for putting this together. Students, good luck, and we're here for you.
Thank you very much. Thank you, Nora. And one final thing, Nora, I just in the vein of plugging the AABAR, the AABAR was important to me. I joined as a law student. I really didn't have mentors, and I found so many mentors. Judge Shelby's on. He was a mentor of mine. I can't, everything Nuna said about this organization is so spot on and was so vital for me. And I think I'm excited for all of you. This is the greatest profession ever. It really is. You have so much to look forward to. And, you know, you never really know where you're going to end up and how your career is going to look when you look back. And that's what makes it exciting. And it's just, you'll meet so many great people. So hang in there and get excited about it and get uncomfortable. I really hope to cross paths with each of you at some point. So thank you for having me. Thank you to my colleagues on the panel. It's great to see you guys.
Thank you,
Great job,
Anwar.
everyone.
Thank you.
Thanks.
Thanks,
Thank you,
Cory. Thanks,
everyone.
Lina. Thanks, Sara.
Thank you.
Bye.
Social events coming soon.
Yes,
Yeah.
we're having a social event next month, TBD, but it's most likely going to be at a ping pong at Ace Bounce. So look forward to that. And then we also have a CLE coming up next month as well. So in between studying, you can attend.
Build those hand-eye coordination skills.
And also, thank you all, President Noura, Anwar, Lina, Cory, Sara. I remember you all as new AABAR members, and for all of you who are students, join the AABAR for networking, for asking questions, for having mentors such as these wonderful panelists here today and everyone else in AABAR. You'll never regret it. It'll be something you'll always remember. And we're so happy to see you here tonight, and reach out with any questions you may have. Thank you all.
Thank you, Judge.
Thank you so much. Thanks, Judge.
Anwar, nice to see you. Sara, Cory, of course, everybody. Lina, our president, Noura is there for everybody. So please join, and we wish you all the very best. One bit of advice, know your audience. Whether it's an intern or a job or anything else, before you go in that room, whether it's public service, state attorney, public defenders, private companies, research them, as one of our panelists mentioned. It'll go a long way, because you'll pick up something that'll come out in your interview that they'll say, hey, this person knows about us. They looked into it. So take that time to do it. And all the other advice that was given was perfect. Watch this video whenever you need to. It's good for someone like myself, even, you know, just to know, not that I'm interviewing anymore, but when I interview people, these are the things that you're going to have to look into. But one bit of advice: know your product, know your audience before you go in there. And it's very easy with Google. Check them out, and along with your backgrounds, you should do very well. We wish you all the best.
Thanks, Judge.
Wonderful, wonderful ending. Thank you so much, Judge.
You're welcome.
Have a
Thank you.
wonderful evening, everyone.
Good night.
Good night.